And 5 Baltimore County teens have been charged after this fight went viral on social media, showing several people kicking and punching a young boy.
Look, I gotta give you guys a caveat before I break down this story for everybody out there in the audience. First and foremost, Fox 45 Baltimore does an excellent job usually in covering a lot of Baltimore-related stories, a lot of Maryland-related stories, and I'm oftentimes reliant not only on their video segments, but in addition to that, their written work on their website in order to bring you information about what's going on locally, because without them, I would not have access to that information because I don't have an on-the-ground reporter in the state of Maryland, in Baltimore, in order to bring you these particular stories. That being said, this segment is not one of those good segments. This segment is incredibly deceptive, and from the first line of the segment, where they describe this as a fight, we find this to be an absurdity beyond belief, because the fact of the matter is, this in no way, shape, or form was a fight. There were about 15 attackers of a 12-year-old white boy. By the way, the attackers in this particular video are all black. They filmed the video. They're laughing throughout the course of this video, and nowhere in there are you seeing this 12-year-old throw hands with any of this group of kids. What actually ended up happening, according to their own reporting when you read between the lines, is that this 12-year-old white kid was lured to an apartment complex where they decided to jump him, film jumping him, rip his shoes off, rip his pants off in order to humiliate him, and they're describing it as a fight. Now, of course, Libs of TikTok has the whole video on their particular Twitter page. I will link that in the description of this video for you to check it out. However, right now, I'm not going to be able to show you the clips of this particular crime because YouTube will age restrict and they will demonetize and they'll do all their different various dirty tricks in order to suppress this information. But unfortunately, what we also learned is that due to laws that we've criticized in the past that protect juveniles from prosecution, many of the attackers in this particular instance will face no consequences, no probation, no juvenile detention or anything of the sort, despite the fact that they jumped a kid 15-1, and it's absolutely absurd. Now, I also want to point out that obviously the reason this is getting a lot of attention on the right-wing side of the spectrum is because of the racial component of it. You have 15 black kids attacking a 12-year-old white kid, ripping his pants off, laughing about it, having a good time, and the national media is not paying attention to it, so of course people are highlighting this, pointing out the hypocrisy in the way certain stories are covered based on race. But as of right now, in this very moment, we don't have evidence for an explicit racial motive. It is not explicitly a hate crime. That being said, we've never really cared about motives like that on this particular channel. We cared about policy, and the policies in the city of Baltimore, in the state of Maryland, are aimed at protecting the perpetrator rather than the victim. And the way that this is portrayed in the news media also runs cover for the perpetrators and doesn't help the victim. Now, we're going to get into this. We're going to break this down. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Well, Baltimore County Police say they are aware of this video, and just moments ago, we got the latest on this investigation. Police say charges have been filed against 5 of the 8 individuals that police say were directly involved in this assault, all of the accused at least 13 years old or younger. And tonight, a closer look at the alleged crime.
So yeah, as of right now, they're saying that all the perpetrators that they've had contact with law enforcement have been aged 13 or younger. And again, the idea that they're going to show us clips of a kid with his hands up protecting his head on the ground, being stomped out by kids that are definitely larger than him in his chest and all over his body, that they're going to be ripping off his pants, and they're going to describe this as a fight, as mutual combat, is absurdity. Again, I'm trying to use some still frames, but I want you guys to hear the audio. I want you to hear the jubilation, because this is absolutely ridiculous that they're even talking about it like this, even though we all know from what we're seeing that this was a horrific beating and a horrific jumping of this 12-year-old boy.
It's a dramatic incident caught on cell phone video, circulating now on social media. A boy attacked. Baltimore County Police say it happened at the Kings Mill Apartments in Essex last Friday. A violent disturbance that unfolded in this patch of yard at Hatwick Drive. Neighbors who say they were not home that day are stunned now by what they see in the video.
It's not right. It's disheartening. Like, I can cry.
A boy seen in the video being punched, thrown to the ground, kicked, even at one point his pants pulled down by a group of several other young boys.
Again, Fox Baltimore is describing this video pretty well. They're saying, look, he's seen being punched, kicked. He's also seen being stomped, make no mistake about it, while he's on the ground, not fighting back. He's trying to defend himself and protect his head. And then eventually they rip his pants off in order to maximize the humiliation factor of this particular kid. And again, it's disgusting behavior and they're taking joy in it. Oftentimes on this channel, we will talk about the knockout game, and some people in the comments will get mad and they'll say, Sean, it's not a game. It's serious violent assault. As if I don't know that, as if I need you guys to write that in the comments. But the thing is that you're missing is that the reason it's referred to as a game is because the players of the game, the people trying to knock somebody out, do so for fun. It is a game to the perpetrators, to the people committing the violence. That's why I describe it that way, and this is a perfect indication of that phenomenon, because when you watch the video on the Lives of TikTok channel, again, which will be linked in the description of this video in full, it will also be labeled, what you see is that they're enjoying themselves. There's jubilation. There's excitement in the fact that they're beating up this kid. And the fact that he's defenseless, the fact that he can't fight back against 15 of them, gives them even more fuel, even more joy. This is 100% about inflicting pain, about getting the viral video. And by the way, this is evidenced by the fact that these kids posted this video. They recorded themselves doing this crime and they shared it on social media because they don't give a damn about consequences.
Tony Longo,
right at this point, he's very badly bruised up.
Says it was his son, 12-year-old Kason, beaten in that video, now recovering physically and mentally from what happened. Longo says he only became aware of the video after it surfaced this week. He says his son had not told him what happened, but he knew something was wrong. Longo says his son told him he had left home without his parents' permission that day, went to the apartment complex where he was confronted by a classmate who accused Kason of calling the classmate's girlfriend a bad name, one that begins with a B. That's when the boy punched Kason.
So again, they're peppering the video throughout the course of this segment. Not only did they beat this kid, and not only did they stomp him when he was on the ground, but they ripped off his pants when he got up and then beat him and stomped him out yet again. And of course, the crime that this kid would have committed, according to these particular attackers, is allegedly he referred to one of the attacker's girlfriends as a B word. So therefore, they are licensed to beat the crap out of this kid, merely possibly kill him, because they are stomping him out while he's on the ground. Obviously, they have no care for this boy's life in this serious violent gang assault. And I say gang as a group of criminals acting in concert with one another, and they put it on display in the video. So in reality, what we have right here is a bunch of black teenagers luring a white kid into an apartment complex in order to savagely attack him. And the reason why people are pointing out the hypocrisy of this particular story is just imagine for a moment if the races were reversed. Imagine for a moment if 15 older white kids lured a small 12-year-old black kid to an apartment complex where he was away from friends and family in their neighborhood just to beat the crap out of him, just to accuse him of a ridiculous non-crime in order to have a pretext to assault him. They're all laughing and enjoying themselves. They're beating him while he's not even fighting back, recording it and posting it on the internet. Now again, a lot of people are focused on whether or not this should be ruled a hate crime or a non-hate crime. I don't care about that. And the reason why is because I'm not into the mind reading thing. I'm not really in favor of hate crime legislation in the first place. And I don't need this to be racially motivated in order to point out that there are serious negative policy implications in this particular story. And for this case, what we find out is that many of these kids cannot be held accountable in any way, shape, or form by the criminal justice system. And the reason for that is because the state of Maryland has gone out of their way to protect these type of juvenile offenders, these type of violent offenders, so you cannot even arrest them. They talked about 5 arrests earlier on in the segment. Make no mistake about it, that is 5 police contacts, because when you're this young in the state of Maryland, what they end up doing is taking you home after they have a police contact with you, and they can't initiate an arrest. And we talked about this in the context of carjacking and all these other different various crimes where kids will be contacted by the police, aka stopped in a car that they stole with a gun, dropped off at their parents' house, only to leave their parents' house in order to offend again. And we've also talked about the parents who desperately want their kids to be held accountable by the criminal justice system because they've lost complete and utter control over them. And by the way, we have seen reports time and time again that a full quarter of the carjackings can be attributed to kids in this particular category, but they won't change the law because, again, the law has been crafted in such a way to benefit the criminal. So the policy implication here is not how they adjudicate hate crimes here or there, it's how they adjudicate these crimes here or there, because these kids cannot be held accountable.
Next thing you know, there's 15 kids surrounding Casey and on top of him, brutally beating him.
The father now calling for the accused to be held accountable for the violent attack.
Whether you're a juvenile or you're an adult, there has to be consequences. These types of behaviors are unacceptable. To beat my son, right, and then feel as if it's okay to take his clothes from him, beat him with his clothes, continue to beat him.
The father, frustrated, truly emotional, his anger quickly turning to sadness over what his son suffered.
The bruises, and as a father, I felt helpless. And, I'm trying to protect my family because the pain and the thought of my son being left helpless, being beat by 15 other kids, his clothes taken, things like that. It's very disturbing to me. I don't want to see that with any human being, especially a child.
Look, I feel horrible for the father right here. Obviously, he's cycling between anger and sadness, and this is completely understandable because it has to be incredibly difficult to watch your own child at the mercy of 15 attackers that are doing it for fun, who are trying to maximize his humiliation by not only stripping him of his clothes, but recording it and uploading it on social media so other people can join in on the hatred. And by the way, a lot of the hatred in these particular comments was, of course, anti-white hatred. So regardless of the motivation of the particular attackers in this story, the people who were enjoying this video on social media were definitely doing so because they hate this kid based on the color of his skin, and it's absolutely disgusting. But I just need to say, for this father, you got to get out of Baltimore. Just move out of this particular area, get your kid to safety, because this is not a good area for you to live in. It's not a good area to raise a family, and you seem like to be a father that's engaged in your child's life, so just get your kid the hell out of there. Just move to another place, move to another area, because it's not only the fact that these kids are committing crimes like this, it's the fact that the criminal justice system enables this behavior, and each and every one of these kids will face almost no consequences, or literally no consequences, in that they can't even be put on probation for these attacks.
Well, police say due to the ages of 3 of the juveniles, state law prohibits the department from bringing charges against them in this case. They also say, based on the information given to detectives, this incident, they say, is not believed to be a hate crime.
Yeah, so they end up closing by saying that 3 of the juveniles that the police have had contact with are ineligible for criminal charges. So they are allowed to savagely beat this kid, videotape it, put it on the internet, take his clothes, rob him, do all these additional things without facing any consequences at all whatsoever. And in addition to that, they say, we don't believe as of right now that this incident is a hate crime. Now, of course, they appear to have some kind of motivation. In the video, you can hear them definitely saying, oh, this white boy talks too much, and they're targeting him for being white. But in addition to that, they say he has a big mouth. Supposedly he called one of the girls, or the girlfriend of one of the guys that are attacking him, a bitch, and probably she is. I mean, look at her boyfriend, look at the people that she's surrounded with. Probably that's an accurate descriptor, to be perfectly fair to the kid right there. So he was just attacked for saying the truth. But yeah, in that particular instance, they're saying, hey, look, we have a different alternative motivation, therefore we are not pursuing this as a hate crime. But again, the facts are what they are. It does not matter whether or not you consider this a hate crime or not. It is, in fact, a crime. Obviously, this is an assault, but these kids cannot be held accountable. Again, 3 of them are just perfectly excluded from criminal charges. They have a license to do this again. They have a license to do this again to this very child in order to go after him, and there's nothing the state of Maryland can do about it. There's nothing the state's attorneys can do about it because of the way that they rig their laws. The policies enabled these criminals, and we see this time and time again. So one of the more brutal viral beatings of a 12-year-old boy is going to go unpunished. Now look, that's all I really have for you guys in terms of information on this particular story, but I want to know what you guys think about this case, what you think about them immediately rushing to say this wasn't a hate crime just because it's 15 black kids attacking a white kid and they're saying stuff about him being white while they're attacking him. That doesn't mean that this is worthy of hate crime suspicion. And I also want to know if you guys think that even matters, because I'm in the camp watching this particular video that I'm seeing a brutal aggravated assault, a gang assault by 15 attackers, and the fact that the overwhelming majority of these attackers are probably under the age of accountability in the state of Maryland, so that they can't even be arrested, they can't even go on probation for this, is the larger problem. It's not just the fact that they were able to do this, that they were willing to do this, that they enjoyed doing this, that they videotape themselves enjoying doing this, but the fact is that the criminal justice system is not going to be able to hold them accountable at all. That really gets under my skin. Again, all your thoughts down in the comments below about what I brought up, about them saying it's not a hate crime, anything and everything. Just share your opinions, because we all love opinions on the actual Justice Warrior channel. Now, as per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about a savage attack on a white kid that they appear to not have any consequences for because it's legal in Baltimore. Till next time.